Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Just thought I would pop in and talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for August. What day is it today? 22nd through 24th. Yeah, we're in this period of time of trying to stabilize from this intense astrology that we've been in, and we're looking at this last couple of months, but really it's a culmination of like 2 years of astrology that kind of got and of course many years, many lifetimes, right? It's all culminating where that eclipse, remember that total solar eclipse that happened in the US on August 17th of 2017, or August in 2017. And so a lot of people are having a completion or an understanding of what might have started around then. And it's been an intense time. And now what we're feeling in this week is that all of our personal planets that were in Leo are moving now into Virgo. And so Mars was already in Virgo. Venus just moved into Virgo. Tomorrow, the sun will move into Virgo. And so we're in this process of kind of coming down to earth, and maybe getting some clarity and assimilating what's happened. And I have to tell you, from the clients I've worked with, there has been massive amounts of karmic work that has happened over these last couple of months. And so it's very understandable that we need some period of time to assimilate. And there's a lot of clues around this, right? So these planets moving into Virgo, Virgo's an earth sign. It's also the Virgin. It's about birthing something new. It's about cleaning up the old. It's about integrating our male and our female and making sense, discriminating. It's ruled by Mercury. So Mercury took that crazy sojourn through the end degrees of Cancer and into Leo, that square with Uranus. Now Mercury is in a trine with Jupiter. And this is giving us like a kind of a breather. Not everybody's getting a break right now, so don't worry if you're not, because we're all on our own. Our astrology is all kind of individual, but in general, this is trying to happen for people. It's like a little breather to be like, okay, whew, like maybe there's some clarity and something can make more sense about what this last couple of months of astrology is about this journey into the past, into the depths of the deep traumas and deep griefs that have been built up over lifetimes. And that is an interesting energy, because I've been getting this picture, which I think can be really helpful. And we are, time and timelines is in alignment with geometry, and what's happening right now in the bigger picture of this event, this time we live in, this moving into the age of Aquarius, is that all of these geometric patterns and formations are kind of all meeting at one time. And this is the time we live in. And it's like kind of all of these divergent timelines coming together. And that has a feeling of total chaos in your field, especially if you're a sensitive soul, if you've been through these traumas in past lives, been persecuted. These feelings of what you've gone through are visceral and on the surface. But there's a beautiful opportunity here, because I was shown that, like, oh yeah, these timelines are all lining up. And so you're not just feeling one lifetime when you go into these places where you're viscerally, your cellular level, you're experiencing something that happened in the past, and you have no mental concept of what that is, or no validation, no support, no tools to work with in this reality. Nobody could, people, you try to talk to them about this, they'd say you're absolutely crazy, right? But it's happening. And we are literally having these experiences where we're like, something can trigger an everyday reality, but sometimes it just happens. And it's like these anxieties and fears and intense feelings come up, and it's like, you're back in the rubble of the destruction of the landslide or whatever happened, right? I mean, and so, but not only are you feeling that, but you're feeling like every lifetime that you've ever felt anything like that. And it's all compiled in because these timelines are all lining up, right? But the beautiful thing with that I've been shown is that means you can take that pattern that's been built up and all lining up, and with a flick of a switch, you can turn it off and disconnect from these old patterns. So that's the beauty of the time we're in. Of course, feeling multiple lifetimes of anxiety is not that fun, right? It's interesting because these fears and anxieties, they're kind of, waning right now for most people, but knowing that that's what's happening when this happens, it's very, very common. And it's been going on pretty much since that Mars retrograde last summer, and just really going into these old patterns. But it's because we have to clear the suppressed, hidden, compensated, disgraced perhaps part of ourselves that has gone through these things and hasn't quite totally healed, So it's a really intense energy. But right now we're in an assimilation place, a time where we can really focus. The energies want to help us assimilate and heal and ground. So it's almost like now we're getting the gift of this intense work that we've been doing, and maybe it can make a little bit of sense, because Mercury, now that it's back out of its shadow and it's moving into new territory, and the first thing it does after that square with Uranus, of course, is trine Jupiter. And it's saying, okay, show me, right? The universe is saying, do you want to be shown what's in the way of you owning who you really are and getting back on that spiritual quest and that life of purpose? There is a bunch of clarity that's coming in for a lot of people, but we really have to reach out and grab it. We have to make the space in our lives, the self-care, the quiet time to receive the messages, to understand. But Mercury is like, okay, I've gone through this crazy sojourn, and now we're going to make some sense of it. And trine into Jupiter, it's saying, hey, what's really in the way? There's so many things that are in the way for so many people. A lot of it has to do with why we're not living our life of purpose, is that it's been literally brainwashed or gaslit out of our reality. And I don't know how many people I've worked with recently that have talked about how they just can't even bring up these concepts or even begin to try to talk or express or feel, talk about their feelings around these concepts, because people invalidate them, like friends and family constantly invalidating this process. I was like, no, you're just crazy. Oh, you're the weird one. Oh, and it's like part of that reaction that's happening is because those people who have not awoken to the awakening process are more and more having to really put the blinders on and pretend that nothing's going on, right? And so that's part of it. But this has happened over lifetimes, where it was like, oh no, you're not, there's nothing special about you. That's egotistical, right? You don't have a spiritual purpose and mission. That doesn't even exist. It's like, look over here. And where they want us to keep our attention is on survival and on materialism, and this has led to this big hole, within the indigo light worker soul, this just emptiness, where a big part of this soul is missing. Now that has to do, the reason why we've been able to be gaslit or brainwashed against or away from our purpose is because we've been traumatized. Things have happened where it's like, oh, you're on your path, you're doing your thing, you're getting your tribe together, you're putting out some teachings, and getting it going. And then you become a target, right? And then people get hurt, and it's like, okay, I won't ever do that again. So we've made these contractual arrangements, and maybe we've made these contractual arrangements with the people around us to be like, hey, don't ever let me do that again. And so the people around us are trying to keep us, they don't necessarily know they're doing it. It's just subconscious programming working through them, to keep us safe from who we really are, and this is where this deep rift, this Chiron and Aries is bringing it up, and it's like, oh, can't hold back anymore, right? It can't go on living in this life and pretend that there isn't any bigger purpose or meaning for us being here, And of course, this is going to be shifting as we go through a lot of changes in these upcoming next couple of years, of a lot of truth coming out, and a lot more clarity, is coming about what your true purpose is here and who you really are. But right now we're working through a lot of those blocks that have been keeping us, and everything this year, the whole backdrop of 2019 is about this. Why aren't you doing what you're here to do? Why aren't you living your truth? Why aren't you back on your horse? Get on the purpose, get on the quest. Why aren't you doing that? What's in the way? And so it might be those traumas that have been bubbling up to the surface that you didn't even know you experienced because they're in the way, right? So anyway, we're getting some clarity around this, and the Sun and Venus are still close together. And so this is an integration, right? So a lot of times when we've been persecuted, it's because of our intuitive abilities, our empathic abilities, and that's of the feminine nature, our sensitivity, right? These are our greatest gifts. And then that female part of ourselves has been disgraced and disenfranchised and rejected and thrown aside and labeled as the slut or the whore, the witch or whatever, right? And so we're integrating. The Virgo energy is like, this girl's got to clean up her act, right? This girl's got this inner child, this little girl, this shamed part of ourselves is just not in alignment with who we are, And so that's what's coming up. We're trying to get in the keyhole through into the new energies, and that baggage won't fit, right? And so it's blooming in our face everywhere. And right now the universe is saying, get yourself together, integrate, become whole and complete. We want to support you. Because Venus and Mars are coming into a conjunction. And this is really powerful because the Sun and the Venus have been together all month long. And they start to separate just before the new moon in Virgo that's coming up next week. And then the Sun comes into a conjunction with Mars for a couple weeks. And it's really quite amazing, right? And what we are integrating is last year's Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde. So Mars retrograded in the summer, and then Venus retrograded in the fall. And so now these planets have caught up to the Sun, and it's like, okay, integrate. We got to integrate these lost, broken parts of ourselves, because we want to come back into oneness consciousness. And this requires the male and female within us to get over the bad divorce, and the fighting against each other, right? This is how we argue with our intuition, how we argue with our sense of self, our purpose, our whether or not we really do have validity and purpose in this world. And we got to stop that, and we got to heal the sides of ourselves and come back to sacred union, because that's how we get to heart center consciousness. And so the universe is saying, yeah, this is bring yourself home, come back into the womb, let the virgin birth you again, get your home in order, get your life in order. Virgo is great energy for cleaning up and sorting out and grounding out. And it's a really important energy for us right now. And the universe is telling us that because we're trying to assimilate the lost and broken parts of ourselves. So that Sun, Venus, and then Venus and Mars coming together, that very powerful relationship between the inner parts of ourselves. And, the programming that started back in Atlantean time is about our brain being in two pieces, right? So we can either be in our right brain or our left brain. And very rarely can people really fuse that thinking together. That's that intuitive thinking. And so we're being kind of healed. We're trying to heal ourselves back into the sacred union within, where you can stop arguing with ourselves and start trusting and coming back into a connection with our higher self and move into that just a whole different state. What's happening for people is this opportunity to have a 180-degree turn in their life from like, this world is hostile, it's working against me, I don't even want to be here, nothing ever works for me, nobody, I can't connect, there's nothing going on here for me, to like, whoa, this is this most profound experience, and I'm here for a reason, and I'm shedding lifetimes of bullshit, and I'm coming into the truth of who I am, and living from this connected, trusting, joyful place, right? And that's a big change. like totally opposite, right? And you can't just stop a moving train and change directions, right? Like chaos will ensue. And so the whole process we've been in is like slowing down that train. Now that's a big energy of what's going on with this Neptune still trine the North Node. They were exact a few days ago. So powerful, like, whoa, just like kicking us into a new dream, you know, like just saying you got to reset your vibration, right? You got to reset your vibration back into this trust of the universe. And so that's really supporting us right now. They're still close, even though they're not an exact trine. And so everything right now is saying, okay, take a breath, you know, breathe deep and slow down and set aside time for yourself, because you are putting yourself back together in a huge way. And so self-care just continues to be very, very important. And it's almost like there's this shock energy, like the trauma is over, but we're still in shock from it. Kind of like, whoo, you know, like, and like the gong is still ringing of these old stories that we had to go back into. And but it's not actually happening anymore, right? So it's like you turn off the fan and it no longer has power, but it continues to spin for a while. And that's kind of what's going on. You know, it's like remnants of this heavy energy, and just sorting it out, cleaning it up. And, you know, this is where we're at right now, but allowing ourselves to reset into a different vibration, right? Because this is the point of trauma programming, is like we want to keep you in trauma energy so you continue to create trauma in the world, right? And we have to enact and evoke our spiritual will, and change our vibration enough to come to kind of inch our way, just slowly invite ourselves back into a different vibration, which is this like deeper trust in the bigger process. And, you know, when you're living your truth and feeling like you're really expressing your gifts and on your path and back on your quest and that kind of thing, that is really the healing energy that allows us to come back into trust with the universe. Right. And so it's really, really key right now. And the Virgo energy is like, okay, get your house in order. You've been given a little glimpse in this Leo energy of the creative energy and this just fire, you know, this expression. And now we got to like slow down, assimilate, meditate, ground out, lay on the earth, hug a tree, you know, and allow ourselves to be reborn. And so that's going to be a lot of the energy of this Virgo new moon activation. This is going to happen at 10 a.m. Mountain time in the US on Thursday, the day before the new moon. So just about 24 hours before this new moon. And we're going to kind of just get into the energy and allow this Virgo rebirth, you know, this calm, this peace, this integration of the parts of ourselves that we've kind of drugged up out of the mud, you know, and so I'm kind of seeing a picture of like sewing ourselves back together and, you know, supporting each other and coming into a different vibrational frequency around all of this. And so I hope you can join me. And if you can't make the live activation, go ahead and catch it on the replay. Like I said, it's almost 24 hours before the actual new moon. And so you can just catch it in that 24 hours before the new moon or after. Those are the key times around the new moon to really use this energy. New moon is always a rebirth. But wow, we've been talking about this for a long time. If you follow my videos, I keep saying we're moving into new energies, you know, new chapter, la, la, la. And, you know, it's like, oh, really? Right. It's like, I'm back in the dark ages again. And it's like, no, it's actually happening now. We literally this last month, I can feel it. A lot of people talking about it. It's a turning of the corner. It doesn't mean we're totally done with the old energies, right? Because we've been shown what needs to be resolved. But it does mean that we're pointing our energy towards the future. And so this Virgo new moon and the Virgin birthing us into this new reality is going to be incredibly helpful and grounding and supportive, and especially when we do it together. So I hope you can join me for that new moon in Virgo activation. That's August 29th at 10 a.m. Mountain time. That will be 9 a.m. on the West Coast and noon on the East Coast. So I hope to see you there or on the next update, and I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.